Hello everybody, good evening, hope everyone can hear me okay. I am starting tonight looking at the S&P 500, which is a really bullish chart. You know, there's a saying in the markets that bear markets rally early in the day and early in the week. And if you figure that's what bear markets do, then bull markets should do the opposite. So a sell-off on an early Monday morning is really bullish, isn't it? It's not a trend reversal yet anyway. So it's a bit more dramatic if we look at what happened on the hourly, on the open. So we had a little gap lower when the futures opened, and then down we went, and now a really impulsive looking rally off the lows, which is what it seems to do after a correction. And now here we are again, new all-time highs. So there's no kind of risk off thing going on that's going to hold Bitcoin back. It's the only one with new highs at the moment in the S&P. No new highs yet, waiting to break out from this kind of consolidation really in the Nasdaq. Haven't managed it yet, but we're looking really strong. The Nasdaq is the most correlated with Bitcoin, so sideways bullish consolidation is a pretty good description of what we've got in Bitcoin at the moment as well. So that's not holding us back. What about the dollar? The dollar has also been a little bit sideways, a perfect double top this summer in the dollar. Big picture, if we look at the monthly chart, I have to say that I think ultimately this dollar is going to rally. I think the US is going to outperform, and that we're probably at the bottom of a wedge. But when we go sideways like this, and if we end up, say, making a triangle pattern sideways, and you can see it better on a weekly, or a wedge pattern, then more likely we break lower, to be honest. They tend to break with the trend, and if we look at the more recent trend for the dollar, that's down. So open to that. Either way, the last month, really, actually 2 months now, we haven't had any trend in the dollar at all. So that's become less of a factor in driving Bitcoin as well. I've got one stock request I was asked to look at tonight before we start, and that's Rolls-Royce. Let's take a quick peek at Rolls-Royce, which is a... here we go. We need don't we? Now, I'm going to start with a monthly chart of Rolls-Royce. What I see here is a really nice three-wave correction. 3 waves down, 3 waves up, and then a finish with 5 waves. So for me, this makes me kind of quite bullish Rolls-Royce. But we only confirm that we've made a bottom and we're going up again. For me, when we get above that 236 FIB, and that's where, since we've rallied really last year, we keep getting held underneath. So we're not really, this looks like a pretty nice, if we go to a weekly, looks again like we've had a rally and we've made a pretty nice 3-wave correction, but our upside target should be this 131 level again, and only if we get above this 131 level are we going up. If I wouldn't call this a inverted head and shoulders pattern. They really should have better symmetry, and by that I mean that the left and the right shoulder should be the same. So it says a little bit more corrective, unfortunately, to me. So 131, I think longs look good here. We've made a pretty good bottom of the range. We're off the bottom of the range. I really don't like, though, in the middle of the range being a buyer or a seller. Don't diddle in the middle is a good reason why, because it's always a bit of a pivot. We could retest the lows. I'd much rather try and buy and sell at the extremes. So at this point, I would say leave this one alone. They're completely flat weekly moving averages. They're completely flat, bunched up daily moving averages. We're at resistance. I think if we broke above 114, that you would have a shot at a nice long back to 131. But to be honest, this could go either way at the moment. And although big picture wave counting, I want to be bullish, I'm just not sure that this is ready to go. So that's how I'm seeing Rolls-Royce. Okay, so let's move on to crypto. Here in Bitcoin, we've reached the big 50% level. So from the high to the low, 50% isn't a Fibonacci level, but it is a mean reversion. It's halfway back. It's a very common place where markets reverse at in corrections. Here we are back here then. A lot of support and resistance at this level when we made that big first dramatic COVID when we made that big dramatic drop in April. This is where our first bounce was from. Normally with the 50% level, they're pretty sharp. So you'll bounce off them, or if you get above them, there'll be support. You kind of don't tend to wash back and forward, but here we are. That's what we're doing. So yeah, could it be distribution? Could it be? I think it's just a pause in an uptrend at the moment. I like how we're holding above the 200 moving average. I think that we are just going sideways while we allow everything to catch up. And as long as we don't break the previous swing low, as long as we don't start getting underneath this 20 moving average, I'm going to say that this is sideways in Bitcoin. And whilst we seem to be going sideways, some of these altcoins are doing very nicely, thank you. It's the kind of bullish consolidation that is good for altcoins, and it seems to be working really well. So New Age says, I better check total market cap. It stopped at 61.8 resistance. So yeah, I will check it. We're here at resistance, aren't we, in Bitcoin? So we've got Bitcoin resist 50% resistance, and we're going sideways. Total market cap stopped at 61.8. Here's the thing though, when I count where we are, what we're doing in Bitcoin, because I feel like, as you know, I feel like we're going to make a low that won't be broken at the end of the year, and I feel like we're in a bigger sideways correction pattern. So this is our A leg. We're going to make a B leg and then a third wave before we go up again, and I'm looking for that to be end of the year, right? So, and it might actually be 5 waves, but here's the thing. When I've looked at, and one of my group, Alex, pointed out to me, every time Bitcoin has made a B leg before, it has always gone to at least a 61.8, and once it went to a 786. So that would point to Bitcoin going a little bit higher before we start this next leg lower. So I really do think that this is just consolidation in an uptrend. We could be here a week or two, and as long as we don't collapse and altcoins hold up and carry on, then I don't see it as bad news. I will give you a hi Sarah, I'll do the target for SUSHI next. So if we go to our daily chart of Bitcoin, one of my favorite, if we consider that when we're in an uptrend, when we're above the 200-day moving average on the daily as a daily trader, and when we're underneath it, we're at risk of more losses, and not in an uptrend, we're more in a downtrend. Well, here we are holding above the 200 moving average is, for me, one of those places where I really do think it's a great place to buy dips if you can. I'm not expecting a big dramatic fallback here. I don't think we'll go back underneath 42,500 again. Until we start that bigger swing lower. I think that we are more likely to test 51,000 on the upside before we go lower, and potentially 57,000. So that's what I'm looking for. So 51,000 by pullbacks, potentially 57,000. And then I do expect sometime in, a bigger swing lower before we go up again. But, I've been wrong before, so let's see. So one of the things that I tweeted earlier is I said I really like SUSHI. You know, again, getting above these 200-day moving averages is a really big deal. So here, if we take a look at the daily chart of SUSHI, you can see how we've been held underneath this 200-day moving average and this 38.2 fib. In SUSHI, it looks like we've made a big ABC correction. And so this is, you know, what you want to see is closest to that 200 moving average is where you're wrong. And I expect after this lovely big three-wave correction that we go higher from here. We've got a little bit of resistance. So we've got this resistance here from these previous highs. Now, if we fail here and then close back underneath that 200 moving average, that would not be so bullish. But so we do need to make new highs above 13 kind of 0.55 in SUSHI. And then when we do, yeah, I'm looking for 19.69 next, first target, and then new highs. So 19.69. So I'm looking for that 200 now. Now that we've broken out, I'm looking for that 200-day moving average to hold on a back test if we're going to keep going higher. One of the reasons that I'm a little bit cautious here, so some of the ones that have been performing really well, which for example Sol has hit, you know, first kind of fib target up here, 2.618 extension one. So this is a pause level anyway. If you've been long, this is one of those levels that I would watch to see when it gets retested, and they always do get, almost always get retested. I would watch to see that we don't make a double top, that we don't make a lower high, you know, because I think that we could see a bigger pullback here at this big level in Sol. Rune is another one that's been going crazy, and you know, if we measure it against previous swings, previous highs in Luna, I think that we may have reached a first resistance level. And I want to see now when we pull back that we don't close back underneath 22. Otherwise, I think that we'll see a bigger pullback to this back test, this 886. So 20.29. And so again, this is one, if you've been long of this one, I would, you know, watch what happens and watch for a reversal in Luna. I think that we could see a bigger correction here before, you know, clearly this is a super uptrend, but we could see a bigger correction here. So this is what I mean about the ones that haven't gone yet. And if you look at what we did do here since we crossed the 200 moving average, you know, we really accelerated underneath it. We were pretty slow. The first time we came back to this 200 moving average, we got knocked back. So, you know, when you can get above it and you hold above it, which hopefully we're going to do in Bitcoin, then you normally see some, you know, you should see more buyers, really, to be honest. So let's see. Okay. So I'm expecting bullish consolidation sideways here in Bitcoin. If we look at, take everything else off and we just look at Japanese candlesticks, you know, I'm a big fan of when you have these big thrust candles, these big green candles, you kind of stay bullish as long as you stay in the top half of the open close of these, and as long as we don't kind of close in the lower half of this big green candle, for me that still remains valid and we're still in an uptrend. And you know, there's quite falling three methods if you're into candlesticks, rising three methods. So you have a big up day, three inside bars, and then you look for the trend to continue. In fact, that's exactly what we did here. Three inside bars, trend continued. So not reason to be bearish yet. You know, we are just consolidating at potentially a big level, but no reversal yet. Okay. Haven't looked at Ethereum. And Ethereum's having a little bit of a rough time. Let's start with the weekly. For me, we're in no man's land in Ethereum. We're in between potential fib retrace levels and looking quite bullish, you know. We really are looking quite bullish. So, but if I measure this first leg we made, and project it from this second leg. I don't have any reason for us to stop here either. I think that this should keep going. So this, for me, again, in Ethereum is just a pause in an uptrend. If we look at these big bullish candles that we have, as long as you don't close in the lower half, we're still going up. So we have a big bullish one here, no close, and a big bullish one here. And you can see that the closes, we all stayed in the kind of top half of this green candle and carried on. Here we are doing this again. So potentially, you know, as long as we stay up here, no reason to think that Ethereum is going to fall back. If we do, then we look at the previous low initially for the first support, and then we can say, okay, we've reversed the trend potentially. But at the moment, everything looks good for Ethereum. Ethereum, though, outperformed Bitcoin and quite a few other markets and got a little bit stretched. So all of our moving averages are a little bit stretched. We may go sideways for a little bit longer in this one. Let the moving averages catch up. I would be concerned if we closed underneath this 50%, but not too concerned because I don't think it's respecting it too well. I think this more, this support and resistance level and these previous lows, I probably wouldn't want us to see us back in this sideways range underneath 3,000 for ETH. So, and I think any dips back to 3,000, if we got one, would be a gift, to be honest. So let's see. Let's see if the market gods bring us back there. I have to say, you know, this last 2 weeks of August is a really, really thin market. So many people are on holiday. So many important people at big funds and firms are, you know, take this as their last chance for a summer holiday, you know, before the real work begins in September. So you don't tend to see between now and after Labor Day great volume, and I wouldn't expect great volume or great trends, to be quite honest. It's just one of those couple of weeks where we definitely could see more sideways, unfortunately. Okay, so we've talked about SUSHI. While like SUSHI, we want to see it hold above that 200-day moving average, just like Bitcoin, and hopefully progress higher from there. So now we'll do some more requests. Let's start with Ripple. Let's see where we are. So a really, really nice move higher last week in Ripple. When you have a really big thrust candle like this, the most common follow-on week is either a really small inside bar, a pause, a doji, a sideways market, or the trend continues. Markets very rarely go all the way up and then all the way back and turn on a dime. And so that's what I'm expecting. Shallow pullback in terms of this weekly candle. I wouldn't want us to see it more than 50% back. I think if we did, it would be a bit of a gift. So that's how I'm always looking at these. And so that's 1.03. If we look at the daily, how would we get back to 1.03? Well, first off, we've got to break the 50% of this big green candle, haven't we? So we can say 1.18 probably is our most likely first support, and if that breaks, we go down to 1.03. And so for the moment, although it looks kind of toppy looking, doesn't it, it's sideways in an uptrend, and no reason to panic yet. The other thing that I look for reversals is more than the 236 fib, so that's often a very good support. So I'm going to draw that from the lows. So 23.6. If we put that down from this low here, 115. So it's kind of, that doesn't really help us with anything really, does it? So 119 though, if we go from this swing low, that's kind of in the middle. That adds up with that, but yeah. So big move last week. Bullish sideways consolidation. Short term, we have lost our hourly moving averages. This does point to lower. So the first thing when we see that and we've got a bigger correction going on is we want to know, is it just a correction? And corrections are usually 3 waves. So we go 1, 2, 3 here. This does look like a correction, 1, 2, 3. It's definitely 3 waves, not 5 waves. And so then, having seen that on those first legs, we can measure, you know, this would be an equal measured move, a little bit lower here at 120.40, and potentially down to that 1.13 level that we were talking about if we extend, and so on. So yeah, not and here's these previous lows here. Remember, we always look for those, you can see them better on the 4 hour. Previous lows are always pretty good support, so around here, aren't they? So equal measured move, and a 1.2 then I think should give us a really good support zone if we're going to stay in an uptrend in Ripple. And that's the first place that I would be looking for support to see if we turn up again. How would you confirm that we're going up again? I usually connect the highs, look for a breakout, and so that's our first resistance then, third touch of this trend line, and then if we break out above that, we should be looking for new highs for Ripple. So looking good, aren't we? So just a little bit, all of them, you know, are a little bit extended, and they're all a little bit stretched, and for me, overbought, oversold, stretched, for me is how far are we from our moving averages, because you tend to see a bit of a snapback effect. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had a week or two of going sideways. WC, do people still hold this? Yeah, they do. Like, and it goes up, so you know, if it moves, people, you'd be amazed what people will trade. So you know, is it generally, yeah. So what happens in September is the first week is a bit of craziness and generally still a holiday, and then the kind of second week of September is when we'll start to see a trend. And to be honest, if we kind of rally all summer, we may see a little bit of a pullback in September. We're certainly at risk of it. So, okay, let's whiz through some more because I'm talking too much. And okay, let's do this. Okay, it's quite a lot of sideways. Okay. So here's ICP. Let's start with the weekly chart, which I always like to do, and see where we're at, because we're trying to get off the lows in this ICP. Now, remember, if you are, this is a pretty nice double bottom. This is one of those swing failure patterns where you make a marginal new low and then off we go, and a really nice rally off the lows. So that's the first thing out of the way. The second thing out of the way here is it doesn't look like a 3-wave correction, does it? Because this third wave, so we go 1 up, 2, 3. This third wave was 1.618 of this first wave, and that often points to this being a nice big wave 3, which would mean a wave 4 here. So that would mean a correction very similar in size and time to this one. So for a wave 4 here. So if we did that and we measured it, we're kind of looking at something like this, another couple of days, and ICP should be ready to go up again. We're going to stay bullish as long as we stay above the top of this wave 1 here, so we shouldn't go back below that, and the normal correction would be 38.2 of this wave. So I think that ICP is in a very nice wave 4, and I am waiting for this to turn up again. And if we look at this 38.2, you can see actually that we I nearly put it in. Here we go. There we go. Let's make it a bit darker. You can see how we're holding this 38.2. We could go down to this 50%, a tag of the 20 moving average, and then turn up again. So I'm looking for this, and then we would have wave 5 of then we would have a wave 5 of this third wave, first wave, and then I would expect a bigger pullback, probably to around these lows again, and then carry on higher. It's made a really nice reversal in ICP, but I just don't think it's quite ready to turn up again yet. So, and again, we could dip a little bit lower from here, but as long as we stay above 48.43, which is where I think that wave 1 is, then we look all good. So I like ICP, but just not quite right now. Sol is another one, is that one that had hit a big target today for me. So I'm watching to see what happens on the retest. And yeah, could it have a little pullback and keep going higher? Definitely it could. Next upside target for me would be 82. But I would expect some kind of a correction or sideways trading before that happens. And then above at 82. Yeah. Gosh, that's somewhere 121. Yeah. So there we go. 82, 121 if we continue higher from here in Sol. But this is just one of those levels where I think we'll see at least 2 or 3 days of correction before we carry on. XLM, which is Stellar Lumen. Here we go. So this is one. Unlike SUSHI that we looked at, or Bitcoin, this one is still stuck underneath the 200-day moving average. Now, that doesn't mean that it won't go higher from here. It just means that's resistance that we're stuck underneath it. Squidgy Ball says, what do I reckon about this NFT craziness? Yeah, I think it's okay. I think a lot of it is to do with community. So, you know, with most things that have happened in the past, you know, if you're a big deal or you do really well in something, most of your friends or the people that you're doing it with kind of know you have. And whereas in crypto, most people that are into it don't really know each other or don't really have any ways, you know, apart from buying a Lamborghini, you know, nobody has any really real way of showing off their crypto assets, if you like. And I think that the NFT craziness is a lot to do with that. It's showing off to your community, if you like. That's kind of how I see it. So, like, I do think it has amazing practical applications for ownership of stuff, but a lot of the stuff that's popular right now is not quite, you know. Anyway, let's that's what I think. You know what I think, though, you know, there are NFT tokens. There's ways to trade it. That top, you know, NFT coins. Theta is a really probably Theta Engine, Mana. They're all kind of NFT coins. So audio is another one. I'm trying to remember. Sand, I think. Bake, we're looking at tonight. That's an NFT. So there are tokens, you know, you can look up if you do the research. Ways to trade it. Just if you don't believe in it, don't get married to it. They're just trades, you know. That's the kind of way. That's the way I kind of view it. So I just the world's crazy. I'm really upset by Afghanistan this week. So you know, I have friends killed in Afghanistan serving there. My, you know, girlfriend of mine, her brother died there. I feel like it's all, what was it all for, you know? Can't get a head around it. Can't get my head around why we went there in the first place. But, you know, when we wanted Osama bin Laden, Bush administration said to the Taliban, hand him over, and the Taliban said, let's negotiate. And Bush didn't want to negotiate, so in we went. Maybe. Anyway, I don't want to get off topic here. Let's because then I get all sad and miserable, and that's not good. So let's go back and try and see if these fibs will help us with targets here in XLM, because one of the things that concerns me about XLM is that I feel like it's really hard just for me to see this drop as a three-wave correction. I'd like to see kind of a pretty clear B wave. Now, I think we may have done it. And if we're going to, then what we see next after we get above this 200 moving average, if we can, will tell us. So if this was our wave 1, 2, 3, then we will hold above this 1.618 here. Should push higher to 0.44 and then see a little bit of a pullback and carry on. So I'm looking for XLM to continue higher, but because of this 200-day moving average, we could see a bit of a pullback, or we could be stuck here for a few more days. Okay. Yeah, Lawrence, it was a disaster from the start. He wasn't even there. He was in Pakistan. Why didn't we invade Pakistan? Oh yeah, allies, you know. Anyway, it makes me sad, you know, 100 years from now, you know, we're all celebrating the people who died in World War II on the beaches in Normandy, and they were heroes. You know, what are we going to be saying about these people 100 years from now? So that's... Anyway, look, I got to shut up because this isn't good. Okay. I remember the first, you know, I served in the, like, I was serving. I've been to Saudi Arabia, you know, and I remember when we invaded Kuwait, and they told us then how we were going to bring democracy and how women's rights were going to be improved in Kuwait. Well, you know, we went to Kuwait, we invaded, we got rid of Iraq, but did they give women the vote? No. It took another 15 years for women in Kuwait to have the vote. So, you know, they tell you a lot of shit when we go places about what they're going to do for people, and it's a lot of shit. They don't really care. They don't care. Anyway. Hey ho. XLM is paused underneath this 200 moving average. As long as we don't fall back too far, I think that this is sideways bullish consolidation, and I'm looking for it to go higher. It is one of those places where you might want to take some profit and maybe buy some more on a pullback when it's had a bit of a pullback. I think it could hold 0.36, but if it doesn't, 0.329 and back to the daily 20 moving average would be my favorite place to look to buy it again. So, Pakistan has nukes, exactly. That's why we didn't invade. Okay. SRM, I need a nuke. Okay. So, let's... anyway, I'm good at getting distracted, so let's keep going here before we get too off course. Anyway, we'll talk about some more at the end. I'm going to look at SRM. So let's tidy up our chart. Start with the weekly, look at big picture, where we are. We've had a very nice pullback in this one. I'm a little bit concerned because this pullback looks like it might be 5 waves, but that's okay. Let's see, this rally that we're having is looking pretty nice. So we paused at the 236 fib and the 200-day moving average. And look what we've done since we got above this 200 moving average. We've really rocketed. It started to extend and going much faster. We are, because we respected this 236 fib, I'm expecting these others to be respected. So 7.68, I don't think we've quite tagged that target yet, and then I'm looking for higher. But if I zoom out and let's look at it the other way and as maybe a harmonic pattern here, we need to be a bit careful and see, because no, not quite. Nothing quite fits here. That's okay. So if we look at where we are, and I'm going to say, let's say this high here, this low here, these highs in the middle, this 7.6 level is a little bit of support and resistance. So like a lot of coins that we're looking at that have hit targets or whatever are really close, this is one of those ones that potentially is at a level where we could see a little bit of a bigger pullback before we carry on higher. So this 38.2, I think I would look for 6.435 to be support. And if we fall back underneath that, we are likely to see a bigger pullback from here. I just want to compare these lows. That low was 2.39. That low was... So this is the lowest low here. Okay. So we start whatever count we've got here. Okay. So... yes, really not. Is this a great place to buy when we're this far stretched from all of these moving averages? No. This is a great place to start thinking about if you've been in it taking some profit. And if you want to wait, then a 3-wave correction here back to this support and back to this 6.45 would be a really good place. So that's where I'd be looking for. Okay. Nice correction, that one. So let's look at KCS. We'll just do it here. Let's see. Qcoin. Okay. So at first glance, this looks like a really nice 3-wave correction, doesn't it? So 1, 2, 3, and so you get really excited that you kind of want to buy this. The problem I have with this is this rally that we've had, and you can see it even on the daily, this rally we've had is really choppy and overlapping and doesn't say new uptrend. And so that makes me think that all of this is just big 3-wave corrective moves. So if we look here, we've gone 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 up, and so this is our final one down. And if that's the case, or at next leg anyway, so if we take this big swing here, let's try that again. From this high, oh no, that's not working. I'll move it later, there we go. If we carry on lower here, where this swing is 61.8 of the first swing, means a retest of the lows. So I feel like this is a kind of bearish rising wedge, and that we are setting up in Qcoin a retest of the lows. So we've had a week of sideways, haven't we? Very tight sideways range here. Haven't been able to break out of it. This is our 4-hour chart. So if you're long of this one, holding on at the moment, hasn't broken down and it's bullish consolidation. But if we break the lows of this consolidation, which is down here at 10.6, that would also be a breakdown of this rising wedge, and I would get out. I think it's fine to, I might be wrong about this bearish view. Clearly this would be support, and if we bounce from here, we're going to keep going up. But so if you're swinging this and you've got a longer term position, hold on. If you want to keep it really simple, take everything away. If we break underneath this 20 moving average, that potentially could lead to a bigger drop than people are expecting, and back to 5. And that would be from where we are, you know, a 50% loss. So if this drops back underneath the 20 moving average or underneath 10.6, I would get out of the way in Qcoin. I really just don't like how it's struggled to rally here. Okay, Waves is next. Waves. Okay. So we're going to start with the weekly chart of Waves. And this is one that had a pretty nasty pullback from the 50% level. So remember, 50% is a very common in corrections, even though they're not a fib number. So if you look on the weekly, from this high to low, we stalled. We had a big drop back from this 50%. I'm just going to pop regular candles on so far. Now, I'm going to put the 236 fib on because there's a couple of ways I look at it. If we go more than 50% of this red candle, big green candle, so 50% of this big green candle, that for me would be, in terms of daily candlesticks, a reversal. No coincidence that was the low today, 28.53. Okay, so if we go underneath that, in terms of candlesticks, that's a little bit, that's pointing to lower. And when you reverse at a 50% level, if you actually reverse, you tend to, mean reverting markets keep mean reverting, so we would come back 50%. So we kind of want to watch out for that. Another way I would do it from this low is I would say if we go more than the 236 fib, then that's what we're looking at. And if we do it all the way from the lows down here, it's the same level. So a daily close underneath 23.58 for me would point to a much bigger pullback to 19.4. So because we would then be looking for 50% back, and that's where the 20 moving average is. So as long as we stay above 23.58, it's sideways, and then I think we can look to continue higher, but under a close underneath there, and we're going to see a much bigger pullback to 19.5. Next one we're going to look at is Luna. I mentioned Luna hitting what I think is potentially a target tonight. And here's Luna. So first off, in Luna, whenever you make a new high, here we go, you know, you want to see if you can close and hold that new high. So if we close back underneath 22.4, I think we'll see a bigger pullback to 20.29. That's first off. Second off, you know, this is a big extension level for a really nice kind of wave 3. So, you know, I'm not too bearish. And I think that, you know, back to 20.29 might actually be a really nice pullback entry. I'm expecting a pullback on the scale of this one. This one took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days. And so maybe that would take us into the end of September in Luna with some sideways trading. If we don't, if we push higher, if we hold above 22.4 and keep going, happy days. I am looking for 34 next upside target for Luna. So this is just a pause level. This is my target. We've got further to go at the moment. I would be more bearish if we closed underneath 20.29, but for now I think that that would be a really good place to look for support to buy. Okay, so Luna expecting a small pullback, not a big one. Raven, I've got Raven Bitcoin, dollar here actually, BUSD. Here's another one that hits a little bit of a target. So I've got my fibs from all-time lows to all-time highs, and I was looking at the harmonic pattern in this one, and it was a back pattern. We reversed here from this 886 fib level, and when you do that, your first target is the 50%. If you get above that, your second target is the 236, which would be up here. So if we can hold above 0.15, again, target is 0.225, but at the moment we're having a little bit of a setback. I'm going to hide these and let's look at them going the other way, see where we stopped and where we're likely to come back to. So this is again a 50%. If we come back too far, we're likely to do 50% back the other way, which would mean back to retest this 200-day moving average and back to about 0.11. So that's what I'm looking for. Okay. Super dumb question. Would a stop limit work on a Bitcoin crash? If it was really crashing and everything, here's the thing. If you put a stop limit in, they can fill you at a really shit, you know, it should work. But, you know, all of these exchanges have, you know, get out clauses for, you know, market conditions, and they could either fill you at a really shitty price, which would be the lows, or they could say the market gapped over your stop and so you didn't get filled. So no, there isn't any guarantee that a stop limit would work in a Bitcoin crash. Okay, so we've reversed it at 50%. We are at risk of a 50% pullback of this whole rally. I can count 5 waves up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At this point, I would say that a 3-wave correction back to 50% of the rally would be a really nice pullback for wave 2 if wave 1 has finished in Ravencoin. Okay, see how today, for the first 5 days, we held above this 236 fib level. Today we've broken underneath it. If we close here, I'm looking for a pullback to 0.108. So from here. And I'm expecting it to be 3 waves. It won't all be in one, it'll be 3 waves like this. And then we can buy it again. So Ravencoin, time to take some profit if you've been long, and wait for that pullback to 0.108. Matic, Dogecoin. Now I've got Matic against Euro here. I'm going to go to the daily. Potentially, if this rally is just an equal measured move off the lows, potentially Matic has hit kind of one of those resistance levels at 1.299. I've got it on log scale, so it's a little bit distorted here. That looks a little bit better. Now, if we were to keep going higher, I would look for 1.57 in Matic Euro. We look at Matic in Euro because we've got quite a lot of Euros people in my group. But if I put this to Matic dollar, let's see where those prices are. So we've got a similar thing going on in terms of the equal measured move resistance, haven't we? Let me put this back. So from this low high, we're at an equal measured move level at 1.5 in Matic dollar. If we put our fib retrace levels on like this, I don't think it's the 38.2. But let's see. Yeah, it's around that 38.2, which is also a messy level. So a little bit of resistance here. For me, the support is at this previous swing low in 1.6. Okay, and as long as we stay above 1.6, this is just bullish sideways consolidation, and I'm looking for Matic to continue higher. So if we look at it on the 4-hour, yeah, 1.306 for me is where the support is. It's a little bit choppy and toppy, isn't it? But it's just, for me, a pause at the moment in a really strong uptrend. This is not a reversal. We just kind of got there a bit too quick, too fast, I think, for Matic. So buy the dip, and as long as we, and it may not come back, you know, in Matic to that 1.306 level. It may just come back to these lows here, you know, in the middle, and then turn up again. So if we were to see a nice sort of 3-wave move and then up it goes again, that would be it. I'm not expecting a huge pullback in Matic at the moment. So Rune dot Aave, let's see them. Okay. Gosh, now I'm going to worry that SUSHI, now I'm worried that SUSHI is going to stay above that. Not just a false breakout. I'd really like to see SUSHI stay above this 200-day. Gosh. All the way back. Anyway, if we can close above this 200-day, we should get a really nice move. I've got all my fingers and toes crossed now. Let's see that this wasn't just a false breakout at resistance. Okay. What were we looking at? We were looking at Rune, weren't we? Here we go. It's quite a bit of a theme now, isn't it? That a lot of these have are at resistance. Now, Rune was another one for me that I think looks really good. Above the 200-day moving average, looked all set to go higher. We could argue that this also, if we hide this, was a little bit of a inverted head and shoulders pattern. The problem is it has a little bit of a sloping neckline, doesn't it? Like this. And I'm not a big fan of, for a bullish move, when it slopes upward. I prefer them when they slope downwards, because it's much clearer when you've broken out. And if you're going to fail, you kind of fail at previous highs and lows. What tends to happen sometimes with these sloping necklines that slope up, like this one, which is a bit like this, is you can sort of climb all the way up this resistance line back and forward, and that isn't really, we know, a head and shoulders kind of explosive reversal pattern. So just like we've seen in SUSHI, we've come back to test our breakout level here, and we've come back to test this previous high and the 200 moving average. If we can't close above it, we've got a little bit of a false breakout swing failure pattern. And then we need to be a little bit careful, because false breakouts are really powerful reversal signals. At the moment, let me make sure this is level. At the moment, we are holding above it. So here it is from this high. Let's see if it holds when we pull back on a retest. So a nice three-wave correction, hold this level and turn up higher again would be fine. If we don't and we close underneath it, so that would be good. But if we don't, if we get underneath it, then it would be a false breakout, and I think that the start of maybe a little bit bigger of a correction. So not so bullish if that happens in Rune, and that's what I'm watching for. So tonight we really do need to see how we do, and if we can close above 8.4. 8.4 becomes the key level for Rune US dollar tether. So let's see. Need those buyers to step up now. Okay. Next one we're going to look at. I've lost my stream. Do I have the pro version of TradingView? Yes, I do. I do. There's lots to like about it. I can have, look, I have like 36 pages of charts open. I can set alerts. I get them on my phone. So that for me is like the best thing, getting alerts on my phone, setting alerts for breakouts and pullbacks and getting them on the phone. So it does look like all of these coins that we're looking at tonight, even the ones that we thought have broken out, are starting to look like they were maybe false breakouts. Monday, I can't tell you how many weeks do we say this every time, the first move on a Monday is very often a false move the wrong way. So like that first move lower in stocks, and but all of these coins at these 200 moving averages that look like this, or at 50% back, are at risk of bigger pullbacks. They're all at risk of bigger pullbacks, unfortunately. So we do need to be a little bit careful. Okay. Rune, so we need to do Polkadot. And here we go. So I'm afraid this is not going to be no Cal surprise, but another one at a big Fibonacci resistance level. If we look at the weekly chart here for DOT, you can see that when we got to the 236 fib, we had 2 weeks holding underneath it, then it became support and up we went. Now we've got to the 38.2 fib, and no surprise, a whole bunch of other resistance here if we look left, and so we are paused at a big level. It's not a big kind of weekly close level that we couldn't close above, 25.42. So in terms of moving averages, this is all set up really nicely, but this is no doubt about it, big resistance. So we could see a bigger pullback here to the 236 fib. We could make an inverted head and shoulders pattern, a bullish pattern like this. I think it would be quite bullish if we held above the 50% of last week's really strong candle on the weekly and the weekly 20 moving average. That would be a really great spot to hold on to if we could. That weekly 20 moving average is at 21.85. And if we look back, that's obviously last week's highs. So a bigger pullback here, that's where I would be looking for. This could turn into a bearish candle. The thing is, I would say here's the thing, I always say wait for the retest. And now I look under the hood on the hourly, and we've done the retest here. And we've done one of those typical crypto, slightly higher high, trick everybody that we're breaking out and then come back. So we've got this sideways range. So clearly, if these lows break here, you can see them from here, then that's potentially where I'd be looking back to. Okay. 21.5. Okay. So ETH Bitcoin is dropping at the moment. ETH Bitcoin is now I'm a little bit neutral, to be honest, ETH Bitcoin at the moment. And so, as you know, I really do like I really do like this as an altcoin indicator. If we look at ETH Bitcoin, here we are at a big ABC level. We've been going sideways though for like 12 days now. There's no, there's really no, I want to be bullish, but there's really no trend here. And we're a little bit at risk. Quite a few altcoins have the same pattern. We had a big ABC down. We're looking for this rally if we're going to be up again to be impulsive. And what we've done is instead stopped at another equal measured move level, which says this is just more correction, and therefore potentially we see another leg lower before we go. So ETH Bitcoin, yeah, I'm a little bit neutral. I would be more bullish if we could close above 0.0709 and these recent highs of this month. Whilst we stay underneath that level, it's not looking so good for ETH against Bitcoin. Okay, AAVE, then some Doge. We haven't looked at Doge for ages, have we? AAVE is a little bit sideways. Are we at a big resistance level in this one? Another one at the 50% back. So you can see that I've already drawn in the middle here where the so we're paused, going sideways at this 50%. This is exactly the same scenario as Bitcoin. We are above the 200-day moving average, but we haven't managed to power away. And so sideways consolidation here. I was a little bit more bullish AAVE. And if we look at this 50% level, potentially, see how this is the level here, potentially we've done a three-wave correction and we could be ready to turn up again and hold it. So I'm not going to chuck the towel and be too bearish yet. You see how we've done 3 equal waves? But if everything is red, then it's going to take it down with it. So the real support then is 396. As long as we can stay above 396, this is sideways consolidation. But potentially AAVE could find some support here and stay in that bigger uptrend and hold above that 50% level. Here's a bit. Okay. I know, Dr. Florida, I feel the same. But really, and I've been trading quite a few years now, honestly, the last 2 weeks of August is not good trading, usually. It's not fun. And yeah, you don't tend to see, trades of a lifetime in this period, let's put it that way. The big bosses are all on holiday. The juniors are running the desks in the banks and the funds. And to be honest, I haven't long term. I've been trading a lot of these altcoins, but I haven't been long-term holding them. And the main reason is my view of Bitcoin, that we're in a big B leg. So and so that's why I'm trying not to get too married to them. And by big B leg is, I feel like like that's not a good coin. Litecoin is a better example. I suppose that I feel like this is in fact, Litecoin is not a good example. Bitcoin is a better example. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. So if we go to the weekly chart of Bitcoin and we look at previous corrections like this, I feel like we're in a correction similar to this, and so it's never just kind of one wave down, and then we should have one wave down, rally, another big pullback, and then that's the one to buy for the long-term hold. And so I feel like an awful lot of the altcoins that I really like are in very similar positions. So this is Link, for example. For me, this doesn't look like enough of a three-wave correction. I feel like in Link here, we have done a big drop, and then we're going to do an ABC, and then another drop, and then up again. And so I'm not holding for the long term, but I have been trading the altcoins. So I'd really like to buy some of this SUSHI, or you know, some of these that are kind of that haven't popped yet, the way kind of Luna have, and some of these ones like SUSHI that are kind of hovering around the 200 moving average. I'm definitely, if we keep going up, going to buy some of those for sure. Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's just finding the ones that have, like, there's so many, you know, when you look, so many that right at that 200 moving average resistance level. So we're all at a point where we could see a bit of a pullback really before we get going again, and we may have to wait for September before we get going again, just because of the market cycles, you know. So okay, let's take a look at some Doge. Now let's start with our weekly chart of Doge. For me, I'm going to say I am super bullish Doge. I think we're in a big B leg as well though. So we have a big 5 waves up leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Big, and now we're in a big correction. We made a really nice Gartley pattern here down to this 786 fib level, and we confirmed the bottom and the bounce when we got above this 61.8. From here, our target should be at least to this 0.45 and more likely to this 0.56, but we're not going to go in a straight line. So now we have to worry when we get 5 waves up like we've got here, that we are at risk of a bigger 3-wave correction before we go up again. I prefer this Doge chart to an awful lot of them out there though, I have to say. I think that there is a chance that Doge has done a complete correction and we are starting a new upswing, but it really kind of all depends on how this unfolds. So I love how we held a 200 moving average on a retest. All of the moving averages are lined up really bullish for Doge, to be honest. So where is the support on a pullback? We've got 2 levels short term. So short term, if this is just a Monday night shakeout and we're going to keep going higher, then we've pulled back to the ideal place in Doge, which is 50% back of this big candle. If we close underneath that though, then we are going to get dragged down into a bigger correction. And I think a back test of this 61.8 level, and not only that, but this previous double top high, this resistance, support, huge look, resistance, support, huge level at 0.283. So if we don't make a low where we are now and we continue lower, 0.283 is where I'd be looking to buy Doge on a pullback. But potentially this is it. We've done it. We've done our correction and we could turn up from here. So I'm watching Doge and I think it's honestly much better chart than a lot of them. It's all lined up for a really nice move if you buy pullbacks in Doge. Okay, Link, VeChain and Neo. So Link is right here. So Link moved beyond that 50% going that way, but let's see where we are. Right here, 38.2 fib, previous highs on the weekly. If we look at our daily chart, gosh, 200-day moving average. So there's a bit of a theme here, isn't there? Unfortunately, it looks like we are stopped at nasty resistance, and you know, a typical Bitcoin thing, false breakout. A close back underneath this 200 moving average would be a little bit nasty here. It could mean a bigger pullback. Hopefully it's just a shakeout. We stay in an uptrend. We don't come all the way back to these lows, but underneath 25.9, yeah, 25.95 would point to much bigger correction and this swing being done. So if it's just a shakeout again, if this is just a shakeout on Monday night, this 3-wave hourly low here will hold and will turn up higher from here. But if it doesn't and we keep going, you can see how this is a perfect right here, equal measured move. So if we can rally from here, this would just be a very nice pullback in an uptrend. If we continue lower underneath 27.9, underneath that hourly 50 moving average, then go back to the daily, back to these lows, I think 25.8, maybe 24. So right on potential short-term trend support in Link, VeChain, Neo and AXS VeChain. Another one where I'm gonna do that. Just going to put regular candles on. So we've had a really bullish move last week in VeChain, obviously. So now we're looking for pullbacks to get long. We paused at a really tough support and resistance level, didn't we, with this first bounce? Let's see where we are. Potentially we've got a 3-wave correction and we're waiting to start our new upswing, but there's that 38.2 fib. Okay. And we can see the support and resistance. So another one where it seems to be making a big base. I think that we are at risk with this bearish reversal here of a pullback to retest the 200-day moving average and this previous swing low here. We're already, in terms of candlesticks, on a really nasty bearish engulfing in this one. And so the first support I would be looking for is around 0.103. Okay, and then I would also look for that back test of the 236 fib, and that comes in around the same place, 0.106. So between 0.103 and 0.106 is where I think we'll find our support, and we're looking to back test the 200 moving average. If you've been long VeChain, this reversal today points to more losses. Now, if this is just a shakeout and we're going to go up again, then if this is an ABC correction, it will stop here. We will get back above this fib level and we will close above 0.139. If it does that, if we stop here and then we close above there, that would be a buy. But otherwise, unless it does anything less than that, I would say probably leave it and wait for that bigger pullback. Okay, VeChain, Neo, AXS, Chiliz. So Neo. So Neo's been quite a decent mover. This is another one on the weekly where it looks like we're making really good progress. We're above our weekly moving averages. We've had a big thrust week. So the first place that we're going to look for in Neo is a 50% retrace of this weekly candle. That would be a perfect place to get involved. Let's 50% is missing, of course. Just my luck. And take them off. There we go. So back to 52 in Neo dollar. So if we do a big weekly pullback back to these lows and this highs, so between, I would say 52.5 and 52 would be where we come back to. If this is just a shakeout, it looks like we've made a three-wave correction. We could quite easily retest the highs from here before we decide what's going on. So let's see. Again, equal short term. This is a nice little equal measured move level to buy from. So if you're looking to sell, this isn't quite the place. This is previous highs, a lot of support here, equal measured move. Yeah. So if you're thinking of, if you wouldn't sell it as a short here, I probably wouldn't cover here. I would wait for a bounce and see. If we then make a lower high, if we still can't get above this fib level, then that would be your exit. Okay. VRA had a good start today. Apparently Bitcoin prefers, yeah. You know, the buy levels are coming very quick, and when they do that, it makes it very hard for us to buy them because we don't trust them, don't we? It's, you know, yeah, let's see. Let's see if these buy levels hold. If they don't, we're going to have a bigger correction this week, and we're going to have a kind of end of August kind of swoon, if you like, an August swoon. Okay, so Neo, 55.96 may hold. If it does, that would be bullish. If it doesn't, look for 52. Okay. AXS and Chiliz. I don't think I have AXS. Let me see. I hate doing all these altcoins on a pullback. It's just... Oh, look, there we are underneath the previous highs in Luna. So, looks like a false break to new highs, and that's never... So, AXS, let's take our mind off things with this one. Now, okay, I'm not sure that I'm... Okay. So, that's right, okay. We're in some pretty nice sideways bullish consolidation here. This is a daily chart. Look how far away we got from our daily 20 moving average. And every time in an uptrend, when we have a pullback, that's where AXS comes back to the 20 moving average and rallies back to the 20 moving average here, and up we go. So if we lose this support, which is at 63.7, we're going to see a bigger pullback to that 20 moving average and potentially back to 53. So 63.7 is key support now in AXS, and yeah, underneath there, because at the moment it looks like a really nice bullish pennant, doesn't it? What's a pennant? It's kind of triangle on its side, or a little... So if a flag is a sideways triangle, then a pennant is a... Sorry, if a bullish flag is a sideways rectangle, a bullish pennant is a sideways triangle. And they're really bullish pennants. Here's our patterns. Here's our pole, and here's our pennant. So we've got really, really good support at 63.7, and we're likely to retest it. If we can break out from this triangle, we should see our next leg up. And above 70.86, a close above 70.86 would be it for me. That would be a really nice bullish sign. So I don't know which way we're going to break out from this consolidation. This is a 4-hour chart of AXS, but I wouldn't stay long, probably underneath 60.3.7. I would wait for the bigger pullback to buy, because yeah, it might just be a little bit further than we're expecting. Neo above 56. You were looking for 66 and then 88 in Neo. In Neo. I was looking for 69, so yeah, I agree with you. As long as we stay above this 200 moving average and 53, I think it looks really good. So I do if everything dumps. I think everything may rally just from here and it's a Monday shakeout. But if we don't, if we continue lower tonight, then I think we are coming back to 52. Yes. So it really all depends what happens right now at these lows that we're looking at for Neo. Okay, let's see some Chiliz. And that's my phone telling me to go to bed. You're shaking out. Yeah, it's a pretty... You know, you gotta... That happens a lot in crypto, and you've got to not let that put you off getting back on the horse, you know, if you know what I mean. Okay, so big picture here in Chiliz dollar, we are looking at a reversal at a 786 FIB. So from all the way from the lows to the highs, a bounce from a 786 FIB. When we have that pattern, the confirmation that you've reversed is closing above the 61.8, and we haven't. We're stuck here at this resistance. If we look at these lows, highs, this is our level, 0.366. And unless we can get above 0.366, we are stuck here. Now, I know we've looked above it intraday. In fact, on the daily, you know, we've been above it, but yeah, it's a little bit messy. And weekly, the weekly, you know, we really need a weekly close above it. Otherwise, we've just got this sideways range corrective thing going on. So what I would like to see here in Chiliz, if we're going to hold it, yeah, it's looking a little bit double toppy, guys, isn't it? So you know when you've got a double top like this, so you make an M or a W if it's an inverted one, don't you? If you break the kind of point in the middle, that's your reversal. So, you know, this is our important support, 0.35. If we drop underneath 0.35, we drop twice this distance. So that would mean down to, so we'll go from here to here to here, down to sort of 0.322. And down to these lows. So bigger correction. It's not too dramatic yet, but whenever you see a double top or a double bottom, it doesn't mean a reversal. It means you've stopped going up or down, and then you wait and see if you break the lows going the other way, where are you going to go? So we could see more losses down to 0.32 if we close underneath 0.35. At the moment, though, you know, this is the place where we should rally from if we're going to do it. So not seeing any signs of it yet, but yeah, this would be the place. So Chiliz, below here, look for more downside, unfortunately. Let's look at FTT and a short-term high. Okay, so FTT, let's look at it against the dollar so that we're comparing apples and apples. So I feel like this is, we've done the B leg. So we've done a bit sort of what we were expecting, what we're expecting Bitcoin to do. This is like ahead of it. So this is our first drop. Here's our rally, and now we'll see another drop before we go higher. I'm going to turn this around now, and we'll see if these fib retrace levels going the other way help us, because we've reversed at a 786 fib. We've hit it perfectly. That means that we've got a bigger reversal underway if we close underneath this 61.8, which is also kind of 50% of this big green candle on the weekly, etc., etc. So important support for FTT at 47.4 against the dollar. And look on the daily how many times we've tested it and bounced from exactly there. So underneath 47.4, we are looking for a bigger reversal, and our minimum target here is going to be 37.6. But as long as we stay above there, that's not happening. So sideways, I'm neutral FTT, but I am short-term bearish underneath 47.4, and I'm a buyer at 37.64. So yeah, watch out. This price action doesn't, within this, it could honestly go either way. This looks like on the 4 hour, like a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern, doesn't it? With a neckline at 47. So head and shoulders patterns fail though when they're just ABCs. So if we bounce from here, no reversal. Okay, bake KNC CRV. So bake. Let's this is an NFT token as well, isn't it? Now, so far, I have to say this rally is not very impressive. I'm going to take this first big swing lower here. Are we going to hold those? 2.3. It's really good support at 2.3. It's not just it's a back test of this 236 fib. It's these previous highs and all the way from this lows here. So, and it's also where the daily 20 moving average is. So if we end up in a bigger pullback, the really good support for bake is at 2.3. But if you're holding it and you bought it recently, you don't really want it to come all the way back there, do you? So let's check a few more things here. I want to see where's that 2.36 from. Doesn't bother us. Okay. Right then. Okay, so first support would be 2.47. I'm going to adjust this a little bit lower here and do this 38.2 and say 2.28 is support. So first support 2.47. At the moment this is just a pause, but it does point to lower. Connor, I'm going to look at Neo at the end for you and I'll send it to you in the group, okay? If I draw, I'll take a look for you when I've got time at the end, okay? So bake, so far, if this was just a pullback in an uptrend, we've made a nice ideal ABC, haven't we? If this is going to be a big double top though, we really don't want to break these lows. And here they are. So here's our highs, lows, sideways range, and that's what we need to be aware of. Below 2.5, we risk 2.47 and then 2.28, bigger pullback. So yeah, a little bit toppy. This would get me out here. I'd watch this level, but I think it's more likely we might do the bigger one. Okay. KNC CRV. Let's see. Oops, I'm on the wrong page. Here we go. No, okay, never mind. Hello, Angelica. At least you can rewind it. Don't worry. Okay, Kyber Network. Got against Bitcoin. For me on the weekly, it's just starting to turn up against Bitcoin. And so, you know, when I look at these altcoins, that's normally the first chart I look at. How are we performing against Bitcoin or ETH or the alt big ones? And I like to see the ones that are outperforming. So starting to turn up against Bitcoin, so maybe not such a terrible bet. Let's look at it against the dollar. So we're starting to regain some big levels here after a very nasty pullback. Okay, I'm going to do my fibs all the ways from those lows to the highs, because this is one of those 886, lovely 886 reversals. There we go. So when you reverse at an 886 fib level, your first target is back to the 50%. You won't normally go in a straight line. It'll be at least 3 waves. We've had a really nice bullish move that's put us above all of our weekly moving averages. And that's quite cool, because then we should be looking for 50% back of this to be support, and this weekly 20 moving average. If we're going to stay going higher in Kyber Network, then 50% of this last week's move would be the ideal place to look. That's 1.815. So 1.815. When I look at this on the daily, good level here with these highs, that's where I'm looking for. So a little bit further to fall to potentially where our first kind of bullish support is, 1.815. If we lose 1.815, let's go back to the daily, then we are going to come back to this 20 moving average here, I think, and this high, which is at 1.73. That would be my next ideal. A little bit further. Let's see how the equal, if we do an equal measured move here, that kind of puts us there as well. So a little bit further to fall, no matter which way you measure it for Kyber Network. And then let's see if we hold support. CRV 1 inch. Yeah, okay, CRV. Do you know, this staycationing, and I don't know if you're in the UK and you're listening, this staycationing in the UK is all very well, but you all need to stop breaking down. My car broke down, gosh, a week ago on Friday, and I couldn't get it to the garage until tomorrow because they're so busy with people holidaying in the UK. I can't believe it. Anyway, let's hope it's back really quick. We're looking at CRV, US dollar tether. We're going to start again with the weekly chart of this one. Really nice bullish move, back above the weekly moving averages. If we're going to follow through and keep going higher here, we should see a shallow pullback to the weekly 50% of last week's move, the weekly 20 moving average, something like that, and potentially a back test of this 61.8 fib level. I actually quite like this one to keep going higher. I think this is going to be a nice buy on pullbacks here. 1.97 is where we're going to be looking. And the reason is, okay, got my fib from this low to high. A bounce from a 786 fib here should have a target of the 38.2. And we didn't quite reach it. So that's where our target is, up there, at 3 basically, 2.999. Okay, see this first leg that fell short? If we measure the ABC correction from here, that puts us at exactly on our target from here. So we've got a little bit of resistance. So now the trade becomes between this resistance level. Let's take these, hide these a second. So 2.35, and then our target is 3.05. So the meat in our trade is between these two levels. And obviously if we go below 3.05, we're in a new uptrend. But we're just assuming at the moment this is, we've got a big 5 waves up, haven't we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So far we've done 1, 2, 3, a big 3 wave back. But if this is just a B wave and it's not the start of a new wave higher, then this is where we're going to have problems. So 2.35. Above 2.35, our target is 3.059. And then our second target is 4.19. That would be really bullish. Okay. So looking for a nice little shallow pullback to 1.99. Above 2.35, we've got a really nice long entry in CRV. Lots to like about this chart. Again, we might not come back that far. We might just do a little shallow pullback here. But for now, yes, this is a pullback. But this should be, again, really nice trade between those levels if we can get above. So this is the kind of one that I do put an alarm on. I'll put an alarm here. And, sorry. Add an alert on the trend line. I get that on my phone. If it breaks out, I'll buy it. I'll sell it up here. Simple trades. Okay. 1 inch. Nope. No. Let's start on a weekly. Got a pattern going on here. Unfortunately, though, this one is at weekly resistance. This is such a tough level too around here. Look, this opening range high. These lows. And if we come a little bit lower to here, this is like resistance zone. Look at this high here and these closing lows. So this is a little, between these two little hash lines, it's a really tough pivotal kind of support and resistance zone to get through. If we look at it on the daily, gosh, the market knows it's here too. Look at these little candles and how we are stuck in this range, and gosh, so we false break down and then we come back and close in the middle, false break higher. Now we're back here and we're going to close in the middle. I think until we close outside of this range, I don't know which way yet, but with the false break higher, the most recent, I would say probably lower tomorrow before higher. But that's our problem range. Now, if we can break above that, I would expect a really nice move higher. It's probably got a nasty fib level as well or something. There it is. There's our nasty 236 fib there as well. So unless we can get above that, we are pretty stuck. We need a daily close above 3.09. Otherwise, yeah, this is where you take profit. Don't let this turn into reversal. So that would mean, let's put our fibs going the other way. Don't break the 236 going the other way. So underneath 2.9015, underneath that low from yesterday is, we would see more downside. 2.65 and maybe 2.45. So okay, as long as we hold above 2.9015. So 1 inch bullish consolidation. I would love to see this break higher. It's just if everything's going sideways or lower, it's not going to take off on its own, I don't think. Okay. This is one where I would wait for a close above and then I would buy a pullback. ANKR XTZ XLM I have already done. That's quite good news. So ANKR then. Let's save this one. But now. Okay. crazy fib levels. I will hide them. And so this is a lovely chart, lovely bullish reversal from a 786 fib. That means that we are going to go to the minimum target is the 38.2. Not in a straight line, but 5 waves would be nice, wouldn't it? So we've done 1, 2, 3, probably a 4, and then another wave higher. It's a 0.1355 target next. Now, there's lots to like about this chart. We're holding above the 200-day moving average. We're, you know, even though everything's a bit flat, and, you know, we've made a very nice correction, I think. This is just one of those levels. So if we use this as a staircase, we shouldn't close back below 0.085. But today's candlestick is a bearish engulfing candle. It does point to more losses. We made a new high and we're going to close and completely obliterate yesterday's range. It's a swing failure pattern because we couldn't close and hold above this high. So when you do that, you're looking at least back to the, unfortunately, to the bottom of the range. And potentially, so we're looking for support back down here at the 200-day moving average, and we're going to be bearish underneath 0.085. I don't think we'll probably come back that far. Now, if I'm wrong and we're not going to see a bigger correction, just a nice sort of shallow one, then this probably is it. 1, 2, 3. So if we were to, this is an equal measure move, if we were to rally from here, get back above this previous high, close above it, that would be bullish, wouldn't it? If we turn up higher from here and off we go, have nothing to worry about. But I think it's one of those ones where we need to look at the broader market. If everything else is just having a shakeout and then going to recover, this should do too. This has got really nice upside. I really do like how all our moving averages are lined up, and I've got a really clear target for ANKR, 0.1355. So by pullbacks in ANKR, this should be wave 1, 2, 3. Anyway, I think yes, we've got another leg higher to go. Okay, depends really where you bought it and whether you're prepared to hold on, isn't it? Okay, if you're looking to buy it, this isn't quite, a turn up from here would be good, but it's not quite the clear buy signal we want to see yet. Okay, then finally let's take a look at Tezos and see. I haven't heard anyone talk about that one for ages. Maybe I just talked to the wrong people, but okay. So let's see what we did here. Okay, so we had a big rally to 61.8, back down to the 236. We would normally come back to the middle of this range now. So let's move our fibs short term to here. Now, I know a lot of people don't like this coin, but potentially if we hold above 3.6, little shallow pullback here, this is just a back test of this 236 fib, and we could carry on higher from here. So let's look at this on the hourly and see. Okay, Blondie. My dogs have kennel cough, and that's what it sounds like. So a three-wave pullback to this 3.6 level potentially could be Tezos done, and we could continue to rally from here. It's a pretty good support and resistance level. I'd be really interested to see if we could make a base here overnight and turn and go higher. If we don't, then it will be one of those, you know, false breakouts, and I've probably got my fibs the wrong way around, and maybe the market is looking at this differently, maybe from this low to this high as a harmonic pattern or something. I don't think so, but just in case anyway. Maybe down here. Actually, this all points to the same. So again, we've got one of those 786 reversals. Our target on the upside in XTZ should be up here at 5.34. And so 3.44, if we do a bigger pullback, is where we're going to come back to and back test this 61.8. So we've got short-term support tonight, and then if we do a bigger pullback, second support. So our short-term support is right now where this low is here and around 3.6, and if we do a bigger pullback, 3.44. So yeah, let's see. Okay, I hope that was helpful. So what's the message with pretty much every chart that we've looked at? This might be just one of those Monday shakeouts, a little bit of a shallow ABC pullback, and we could continue higher from here. If we don't though, we've got some really good levels to buy. The biggest problem at the moment is the time of year. This is the end of August. You know, institutional money in August is on the beach. It's not rushing to buy more Bitcoin. So unless there's something going on that they miss. So, you know, another inside day in Bitcoin then. Sideways, hopefully bullish consolidation, and hopefully this doesn't turn into a bigger correction. This is a really good place for it to hold support. Okay, if you follow me on Twitter or on my Facebook page, I will post updates through this week, and we'll see how we go. Okay, I am going to look at Neo again for Connor because I obviously did it wrong. If I draw, right, so let's go. If I draw my fib from the 389 low, okay. That's not the 389 low, that's the 389 low. Good. Now, if I do this, this is a very, I agree with you, this is a very different story. Here's the thing, right? If I draw my fibs from that low to this high, I want to see on these pullbacks, these levels quite well respected. And initially it wasn't. This 382 is pretty good though, isn't it? This 50% is really good on the back test. This 61.8, typical 61.8. But I would normally expect this 786 to be sharper than this. So now let's see, you know, if this 61.8 holds again. No, the market. TradingView keeps doing that when I roll my ball too much. So I can see the fib levels you're looking at. And you know, that makes sense because a lot of markets that we looked at tonight are sitting on short-term support. And that would make this level for Neo really good short-term support. And if we look, is the market looking at these levels as well? It looks like it, doesn't it? Because it is really pretty good support and resistance too. So yeah. And this 61.8 level, if we can hold above it, is our bullish level. So yeah, potentially we go higher from here. And if we do, because of that 786, we're not going to go in a straight line, but our target, our first target is going to be 88.6. You're right about the 88. just a matter of what's everyone looking at for the most, for these levels to work. So yeah, good luck. You're right, Connor. Well done. Well done, Grasshopper. You've learnt well.